Welcome to That's Based. Happy Saturday. I'm your host, as always, Caleb Salvatore, reporting from somewhere underground. We're laughing our way through the end of days. This week on That's Based, we have got a whole bunch of fun stuff to talk about with you. We have got Jake Tapper's brand new book, Original Sin. I didn't read it because I'm not giving that scumbag my money, but we're going to talk about it. We've got the Democrats they spent a lot of money on a study that was really important to them, and they got some really critical results. We've got an update on every conservative Christian commentator in America, other than myself's favorite Muslim alleged sex traffickers. Donald Trump has got a bold new proposal to bolster our nation's national security. Israel is out of control yet again. Surprise, surprise. Picklegate takes the internet by storm. This is going to make a lot of you guys reflect pretty hard. Macron, the president of France, is in hot water after an exchange with his spouse, quote-unquote wife, depending on if you believe the official story or not, goes viral as it gets caught on camera on cable news. And then we got a whole bunch of other stuff to talk about. We're going to try to get into as we get toward the end of the episode. I don't want to make any promises, though, because as we know, sometimes we go over time on this episode, and I'm trying to keep it below 2 minutes. That collar's going to have to come off him because I can hear it. Okay, so we've got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. Before we do, this week's show is brought to you by our friends over at Blood of Tyrant Wines. Drink bloodoftyrants.com. Promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show, will save you 10% off your order at the checkout. B-A-S-E-D, drinkbloodoftyrants.com. They got two types of wine, both red and white, along with the Liquid Freedom energy drink. And if you use my promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, at drinkbloodoftyrants.com, you'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. Go do it now. Save the money, and then support the brands that have similar world views to ours. Stockholm Mia, the red face of white supremacy, is rolling with us as always. How's it going on this fine Saturday morning?
Good.
You just saw Lilo and Stitch, the movie. What's the official review? What's the word on it?
Very good.
Very good.
Yes, very emotional. Really tugs at your heartstrings.
Yeah?
Yeah, I recommend it.
Like, how does it tug it? Like, in like an I Am Legend way, or not quite?
No, not quite. Just like, I don't know. Like, it's just very sweet. Like with Lilo and her sister and Stitch.
I don't do sweet.
It's just, yeah, it's emotional, especially if you have a sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't, so I'll take your word for it. But I have two sister-in-laws. I don't have a sister, though, so I'll take you at your word for it there. Before we get into our lead topic, and no more movie talk, at least not in this segment, we're going to hop into the current state of the left real quick.
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
All right, this week on the current state of the left, we are going to play our favorite game yet again because they keep giving us so much content. I can't just choose one video. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Which Liberal Most Belongs in a Mental Institution. This week on Which Liberal Most Belongs in a Mental Institution, Joy Behar from The View is leading us off. Go ahead and check out what she had to say about if she encountered a Trump supporter who was maybe struggling a little bit.
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't even let him give me a Heimlich maneuver.
Yeah.
That's how little I feel about people. I don't know.
Well, and a MAGA supporter is like
Calling you right now.
I got it.
Somebody's.
I fixed it.
Tell that MAGA man.
No,
leave you
I'm
alone.
not sleeping with you anymore.
That's right. Joy Behar would not give a Trump supporter the Heimlich maneuver if he were choking in front of her. Now, something tells me that Joy Behar might not possess the physical capabilities that are necessary to do the Heimlich on someone who's my size or bigger. So I don't think we're missing out on too much in this. Here's the other thing, Joy. Have you ever considered that maybe we would rather choke to death than be touched by a blown out old bag like yourself? Has that ever run through your mind before? I'm just asking. Our next contestant in Which Liberal Most Belongs in a Mental Institution comes from a user on Twitter known as the Political Science Dad. And the Political Science Dad, I think he's trying to start a new a new TikTok trend or a new challenge. Like what's the last TikTok challenge that really went viral? Do you remember? Or are we too old and detached from it?
I don't know. I don't know TikTok challenges.
Well, remember there was one going around where the kids had to slap their teachers? That was like a TikTok challenge that was. I had a friend who was a teacher, and he was telling me all about it. And he was telling me that on like it was like a 30-day challenge thing. One day was slap the teacher, and it led up to supposedly bring a gun and shoot the teacher at school. That was a TikTok challenge that the kids were allegedly doing nowadays. But this guy, he's up in the ante on even that. So go ahead and check out Political Science Dad's new TikTok challenge that he's really trying to get started here.
The danger that Donald J. Trump, his administration, his voters all pose is an existential threat to our existence. It is time to begin unaliving them.
Man, I love when they just come out and say it. Like, that guy's going to get a visit from several alphabet agencies, along with the Secret Service. There's one thing, like that girl that was talking a week ago, I think we played her, where she was talking about, I'll send somebody naughty letters and they're in jail if they do it. And she didn't explicitly say it, but we all knew what she was talking about. That's one thing. It's a whole other thing to just flat out come on on your video, on your TikTok, and say, it's time to start killing people who think differently than us, and maybe the president. That's a wild jump. I mean, this is... What do you think this is? Do you think this is a guy with nothing to lose, or a guy who's never suffered consequences before? Which one do you think this is here?
Probably a guy who's never suffered consequences for anything.
Yeah, because his name says Political Science Dad, right? So you'd think, like, he wouldn't be thinking, well, I don't care if they come arrest me. I don't have anything left. Like, he's got kids, at least a kid, based on his username. Maybe it's some weird fetish. I don't know. But he's got at least a kid based on his username. So there's something to lose there. What that tells me is he doesn't think anything will happen to him if he posts that. Now, that's been forwarded to the FBI and the Secret Service hundreds, if not thousands of times by the time this aired. So don't even worry about it. You guys don't need to. We're not going to do a call to action on that one. If you want to report him, go right ahead. You've got the clip. We just played it for you. Send the full episode over to the Secret Service. Maybe they'll become fans. Don't send the isolated clip to the Secret Service if you're going to report something that one of these liberals says that we play on the air. Just send the full episode length, so maybe the Secret Service agent who gets it will become a fan of the show. We've got one more, and this guy's really taking Trump's big, beautiful bill well. This is probably the most rational take I've seen on this tax cut bill in a long time.
This regime doesn't give a fuck if you die! These sick bastards in the House just passed their big, beautiful fucking bill, and it's full of cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, and SNAP. That means poor people, sick people, disabled people, hungry families. Apparently your survival is too fucking expensive. And Trump, he fucking violated a court order again. 12 migrants got deported to South Sudan, a country they're not even fucking from. No warning, no chance to speak, just ripped away like garbage, like their lives don't mean a goddamn thing. And now get this, Kristi Noem just revoked Howard's ability to enroll in international students. Not just new ones, existing international students are being forced to transfer out. These students worked their asses to get out here, sacrificed everything, crossed oceans, carried dreams in their fists, targeted racist, nationalistic fucking bullshit. And ABC, they just told you to tone it down on Trump. Are you fucking kidding me? Tone it down while the country's on fire? No, we don't tone shit down. We scream. We shove the truth in their faces. We call Trump exactly what he is. A fascist, a criminal, a lying fucking tyrant. June 14th, we fucking mobilize nationwide. Loud, disruptive fears. This isn't a political issue. It's a fucking humanitarian emergency. We rise the fuck up and we do not stop.
Do you think he might be angry?
No.
No, he looks like he just got out of a yoga class. Okay, that wasn't in one shot. That's what I noticed, is there were jump cuts in that video. And if you've ever recorded a TikTok, or if you've never recorded one, here's how it works. You hold the phone up to your face. You record what you want to say for the first cut, hit stop, and then hit play again. Which means that that guy sat there and screamed like a lunatic into his phone for 15 seconds, got done with the first headline, press stop, calm down for a second, press play again, got very angry again, screamed for the next 15 seconds, press stop for that headline, moved on to the next one and did it 3 or 4 more times. Which means that's a theater kid. That is fake outrage. That he's not... I don't think that I could get that angry and scream like that for that long if I wanted to. That's all that guy's TikTok account is full of right there, is him screaming like a lunatic about whatever the headlines of the day that have triggered him are in his car. How does he have a voice? Like, you hear about, like, heavy metal singers losing their voice when they're 45. That guy's going to lose his voice in the next 45 days if he keeps this up. Also, where is he recording this? Like, I know he's recording it from his car. Where is he recording it from? Because it looks like he's outside. So if he were sitting in his garage recording it, that would be one thing. He's obviously doing this in some type of parking lot, right? So he's doing this in public. How would you like to be the sweet old lady checking out at the grocery store, parked next to that psychopath, as he just belligerently screams into his phone? Here's my thing. If you guys see somebody screaming into their phone like that out in public, what I want, not what I want you to do, what I need you to do is call 911 and report a person having a mental breakdown in the XYZ store parking lot. Because that's what that is. And maybe he is, maybe he's not. But if you see somebody screaming like that in public, you have a reasonable suspicion that they are having a mental breakdown. And it becomes your civic duty to call the police on them to protect not just everyone else, but themselves as well. So turn those people in and let them feel like the absolute basket cases that they are. That's the important thing to do. If you see, because here's where we're at, guys. These guys have become so unhinged, as you just saw in the last 2 videos, so devoid of compassion for anyone who sees the world differently than them, because they've dehumanized the opposing side for the last 10 years, and they've done nothing but listen to people that have continued the dehumanization, similar but not quite to the same extreme level that the Nazis did to the Jews in the 40s. You're seeing the Democrats talk about Republicans. I'm not saying that it's the same. So before you Gina Carano me, that's not what I'm saying. But the rhetoric style and the methods of dehumanization are eerily similar, the way you see Democrats talk about conservatives and Trump voters. You can't deny that. There is a direct attempt to dehumanize the other side coming from the left. So with the way these people talk, we cannot assume that they're just being edgy for clicks on social media. We cannot assume that they're just joking. We cannot assume that it's just an act. We cannot assume that they won't follow through on some of the things they're saying, many of the things they're saying. These people, objectively speaking, suffer from mental illness at a 5-to-1 rate compared to us. If you've taken a look at the last couple politically motivated terror attacks in this country, they've all come from that side. And we've got these lunatics that think that there's some type of divine crystal intervention, or I don't know what's going on, that's going to protect them, or that they don't suffer consequences for their actions. It's only a matter of time until one of them does it. So they just spent the last 4 years illegitimately using the state as a weapon against us. It's time for us to legitimately use the state as a weapon against them. Don't file false reports, but if you see somebody saying something that could even vaguely be interpreted as a threat, it becomes your responsibility to turn it into the appropriate authorities and let them assess the threat, because we're at a point where we just can't take any more chances with these people. They've already shown us they'll go through with it. So I don't know what more proof we need that we can't play games. But with that aside, Mia, who most belongs in a mental institution I think Joy Behar is a distant third here. She was wacky, but that was performance art, right? These other two, it's like, all right, what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any question. I think it's the last guy.
The screaming maniac? Even if so what if we could confirm that the screaming lunatic was just acting and he wasn't actually that upset, and that's like his brand for his TikTok account?
I mean, still, to be crazy like that, like, you have to have something wrong with you. No normal person just even like acting scream.
You know
like
what?
that.
How much time do we have left in this show? An hour and 45 minutes. I'm going to spend the next hour and 45 minutes of this show screaming like that into the. How long do you think I could go if I did that?
Under 5 minutes.
So what I'll say is, after the election, when we did that marathon, like 14-hour stream, I had to rest my voice for a couple of days. We couldn't even. We did a bogus throwaway show for the Saturday show. I did a quick little recap the day after the election, but I had to rest my voice because it was cooked, and I wasn't screaming. I was just talking. I couldn't. No, yeah, 5 minutes and my voice would give out. I don't even think I could go that long. So he's got a talent. There's a future. Do you think there's maybe like we could get him on the podcast and I could debate him? And listen, I don't know who you are, dude. I'll debate you on whatever issues, but the kicker is you have to scream at me like that the entire time. I will maintain this composure that I have right here, this kind of smug, sarcastic thing I do. You have to scream at me for the entire episode. I'm talking, we're going to go at least 90 minutes. If you can do that, I'm down to debate. I'm all for it. Let's roll with it. Anyway, that's been our intro segment. Stay tuned. We're talking Jake Tapper coming up in just a second here. All right, and before we get into our lead topic, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors over at Firecracker Farm. Firecracker.farm, promo code BASED, BASED. Like the title of the show will save you 10% off your order at the checkout. That's firecracker.farm, not .com, .org, or .net. Can you scroll over so I can see my mic volume there? With the promo code BASED, BASED, to save 10% off your order at the checkout, they get this great product called hot salt. We put it on everything over here. It's a combination of Mediterranean sea salt, scorpion pepper, ghost pepper, and Carolina Reaper. It goes great on everything. You want to have it. Summertime's coming up. You're going to be chilling in the backyard, by the pool, on the beach, whatever. Goes great on some margaritas, on some chicken or burgers on the grill, steak. I love it. Firecracker.farm, promo code BASED, BASED. Like the title of the show, save you 10% off your order at the checkout. Best part, it's made right here in the US of A, so you don't got to worry about none of the tariffs. You don't have to worry about these other countries fucking with our food or tracking your transactions. None of that. Support these American-made brands that support this show. One more time, it's firecracker.farm, not .com, not .org, not .net, not .gov, not .tv, .farm, F-A-R-M, with the promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show, to save 10% off your order at the checkout. I just realized we didn't change the lead topic, lower third, but that's fine. We're going to roll with it anyway, because I guess it kind of rolls into what we're talking about. It's not too irrelevant, so we'll keep it there. So Jake Tapper, the CNN anchor, former CNN anchor, I don't keep up with the career choices of Mr. Tapper, but Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson released a book titled Original Sin last week, which we kind of touched on, and it talks about Joe Biden's cognitive decline and the large-scale cover-up that went into selling the lie to the American people. Well, I shouldn't say selling the lie, because selling the lie implies that a lot of people bought it, when I don't think anybody really bought it. I think even the most head-in-the-sand Democrats, while they're not willing to admit that they knew Biden was in cognitive decline, they know deep down that that guy was not running the show. They knew it, maybe not from day one, but by, say, day 101, it was pretty clear that Biden didn't know where the fuck he was. right? Like that guy, woohoo, flew over the cuckoo's nest, right? So Jake Tapper, he's a left-wing anchor from CNN, decided that he was going to publish this book 4 months after Biden left office. I mean, what a bold move, Mia. What a bold move. This guy, he did all this research and just got all of this in a couple of months, sent it off to the publisher. They looked at it, edited it, sent it back. He made the final revisions. They looked at it one more time, then they okayed it. So he gathered all this information about Biden in like a month and a half. He just figured it out. How bold of him to release a book about the former president when he's no longer in power. I mean, what a move by Jake Tapper. Oh, that took some balls, Jake. Good job, man. You really put yourself out there on that one. It's not like you could have done it a couple years ago when the fate of the world was hanging and, it looked like we were about to go to war with Russia and China at the same time, and the emperor had no clothes. The guy at the wheel wasn't drunk. He didn't even know the car was turned on. You could have done it back then, but you decided to wait until not just after all that went down, but after the election. So it had little to no impact on American politics. You did it the same year that Donald Trump took office, in an off year for elections, so it won't have an effect on the midterm. But you're really telling us that you're trying to stick it to the Democrats. Yeah, I'm sure. No, what this is Jake Tapper sees the writing on the wall. He's unlike a lot of these other journalists. Like, I was going to ask Mia, have you ever been at a company that was clearly failing and it was only a matter of time until mass layoffs were coming? But you would know. Like, if you guys ever been in a company that was like clearly going to fail, it was clear that this company's going to fail. There's two types of people that are working at that company. Maybe they got bought, maybe sales are way down, maybe they're cutting back on everything. But there's two types of people at that company when the writing is on the wall. There's the people that see it for what it is and they start making arrangements. They don't just up and quit, but they start looking for another job. And then there's the people that stick their heads in the sand and go, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to sit here, just do my minuscule role and pretend that nothing bad is happening. And when they fire me, I guess I'll cross that bridge when I get there. So to Jake Tapper's credit, he sees the writing on the wall that the rest of us saw after the 2024 presidential election, which is that the dinosaur media's influence over the American public is not what it once was. And he's trying to make other arrangements so he can be relevant outside of that medium. I'm not saying CNN and Fox and MSNBC are going to go away. They're not. That's stupid. When people say that, they're oversimplifying the issue. They won't have the influence they once had. They won't have the money, and they won't have a lot of the talent they once had. But they're not going to go away. But he sees that. And Jake Tapper, he's made enough money. He's been in this business long enough. He should have a little bit saved up. So while money's nice, it's not the number one issue for him. Jake Tapper is now peddling an influence. Where can I get the most influence and connections that I possibly can? So he sees the writing on the wall at CNN. He knows that his grift, at least to its current degree, is coming to a close. And he's going to see if he can grift in alternative media. He's gone on the podcast circuit. He's done Piers Morgan. He's done everything ever since this book came out. Now, if you ask him, here's what he had to say about the money aspect of the book here.
In terms of the left, it's a money grab. I mean, that's not the case. It's not. This is. I don't want to get into where my money comes from, but I'm. CNN is my main job, and that's where my main source of income by far. Very few people write books to make money. You write a book because you want to say something, you want to have a legacy, you want to uncover something, you have a message you want to get out there. I don't think people write books about Joe Biden to make money. We are gratified that people are buying this book.
That's a good point.
But I don't think, the idea that I would do this for money is...
He wrote a book to uncover something. He uncovered something that all of us had been shouting from the hilltop for the last 4 years while he put his hands over his ears, him and everybody else in his industry. He wrote it to uncover something we didn't know. Next week, Jake Tapper's going to write a book about, he just found out that America has 50 states. Jake Tapper, after his brilliant sequel about the 50 states in America, He's going to write a book called I Just Learned That Lizzo's Fat. Oh, she's not fat anymore, is she? She used to be fat. Jake Tapper. Brilliant journalism by Jake Tapper. This guy's an award. I mean, come on. So he sees the writing on the wall is over at CNN, and he wrote this book. And what he did was he pissed everybody off. And normally, when you piss both sides of the aisle off, that's a good thing. We usually piss both sides of the aisle off every single episode on this show. I know. I see the comments in the live chats. I see them. I know we piss you guys off. And that's okay. That's what we strive to do. But the difference is those are my actual views. Now, Jake Tapper will try to portray himself as some type of modern media trailblazer who's riled up, ruffled feathers on both sides of the aisle. But that's not what it is. He hasn't ruffled feathers on both sides of the aisle by speaking truth to power, at least not any truth that people didn't already know, or at least for the last couple years. He's just tried to scam both sides, and neither of them are buying it. The people he made a career out of scamming and lying to on the left have finally seen him for the fraud he is, so now he's trying to turn to the right and go, hey, guys, what you see me? I don't like Biden. I'm one of those liberals that, I'm critical of my own party, like the Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, Lindy Lee, people, Anna Kasparian, people like that. Why don't you let me over? And conservatives are like, fuck you, dude. You didn't say anything we didn't know. If you wanted to come out and actually criticize the Democrat Party, we might be willing to hear you out. But you're saying, you knew this, and your book documents all of the instances that made it obvious in the public eye that Biden had lost his fucking mind. And you got nothing to say on that. Now, like I said, he's tried to pander to both sides here. So here's a liberal, what they had to say. It was a tweet. This is from Brooklyn Dad on Twitter. This is how much the left is a fan of Jake Tapper. It says, good morning and happy Wednesday to everyone who agrees that Jake Tapper is a piece of shit hack. Nobody was hiding President Biden's age because jackasses like Tapper ignored Biden's wins and focused on his age. He helped enable Trump's return. Well, that's a fucking lie, Brooklyn Dad. That's a disingenuous take. Jake Tapper was the host of the first presidential debate that argued back and forth with Donald Trump. The debate at one point became Trump Tapper. So to claim that Jake Tapper was fixing the game for Trump all along is bullshit. Jake Tapper, if anything, helped Biden by outright ignoring all of the obvious truths that he acknowledges in this very book. Now, here he was when confronted by Laura Loomer, a conservative influencer, out in the hallway of a press briefing. Go ahead.
Have some courage for once. Apologize for all of your fake news at CNN that has led to this attempted assassination of President Trump, Jake. Shameful behavior from CNN. You guys have blood on your hands. You have blood on your hands, Jake. When are you going to apologize to the American people for lying about President Trump for years? When are you going to call out Joe Biden for saying that it's time to put President Trump in a bullseye? Come on, you're always talking so much shit.
Yeah, so both sides are big fans of Jake right now. Jake's politically homeless, and not in a good way, not in like a Bridget Fetisi way, where it feels like it's coming from a legitimate perspective, where, hey, these are just my opinions on the issues, and both parties want nothing to do with me because I lean too far to the other side on certain topics. Not like that. Just in I'm a sleazy scumbag, and everyone can smell the shit on me from a mile away, so they want nothing to do with me kind of way. So this is majorly backfired for him. He thought he was going to paint himself as some type of maverick in media. And while, yeah, the book's probably going to sell pretty well because people are curious and it's a hot topic and it's got him on the podcast and late night show circuit right now, it's not going to last. I think in the long run, this is going to be worse for his career because the left now thinks you're a sellout. The left wants nothing to do with you. Republicans see you as a spineless hack because there's no way an intelligent person who is tuned in to the ins and outs of what's going on in the American political sphere took that long to realize that Biden was senile. There's no way. You did not ascend to where you are in your job without at least having a little bit of an inkling that something was off about Biden. So they see you as a spineless hack because you waited until after he left the White House to do it. By the way, the Biden family coming out and saying the day before this book dropped, hey, by the way, he's got cancer, was like the trifecta. So Tapper he's getting used from all three holes right now, right? The asshole, the mouth, and the vajayjay. They're all in on Tapper. Just full on prison style on Jake Tapper, because it wouldn't be That's Based with Caleb Salvatore if we didn't get a little vulgar on here from time to time. That's what separates us from these stick in the mud conservative hacks that you listen to. See, you can get invigorating, colorful conservative commentary without going to a clown like Andrew Tate. Okay? And we'll talk about those guys a little bit later on in the show. Now, Jake Tapper had a comment to make about a podcast he was on here. Go ahead and check this out. About some people brought his podcast he went on. Some people brought his son into it. Check this out here.
I went on a left-leaning podcast that shall remain nameless, and we were talking about my kids because I think they were both people without kids. And they asked me about my son, and I said he was, he's a football player and he wants to be a policeman. And their joke was about my 15-year-old son, oh, how does he feel about minorities? Like the idea that he wants to be a policeman, therefore he's racist, my son. And that was the big laugh. And then I got dragged in the comments and all that stuff. And I thought to myself, this is why you fuckers are losing elections.
100%.
Like my football playing son, who has
Tackles
no
minorities a little
political
harder.
views. He's 15. He thinks about World War II and gaming and playing linebacker. That's his world. You're deciding he's a racist because he wants to be a cop. And why does he want to be a cop? He wants to be a cop because he wants to help people, and he thinks that's the best way he can help people. And that's how the Democratic Party talks to men, not just white men, but men. And, I get the idea that they thought Tim Walz could, what's the term he used? Code switch or something? He thought that he could translate the Democratic Party values because he hunts and fishes and owns a gun and was in the army and drinks a beer. At least there was an attempt. But I find it just insane.
Oh, he's right about old Tampon Tim, Coach Sandusky there. I'll give him that much credit where it's due. But Jake Poo, don't you realize that type of rhetoric, that's not new? That came from the Democrat Party. We've heard that, the language about police officers and young men, for the last 4 years. Now, you went on a podcast that was a little bit edgier. It was a joke. I think you're overreacting to it a little bit. When people get turned off by distasteful comments coming from the left, it's not necessarily people making jokes. It's people that say things like that in a serious manner. Regardless, that's splitting hairs there. We're getting into semantics. But let's not act like you and your ilk at CNN didn't perpetuate that with your coverage of the quote-unquote mostly peaceful protests where you had explosions in the background while that was down on the lower third on your broadcast. Let's not act like you didn't play a role in normalizing that language and holding water for it and running cover for it. Because you did, Jakey Poo. So again, the guy does not have a genuine bone in his body. He doesn't. He's incapable. I don't think Jake Tapper knows who the real Jake Tapper is. This is the guy, for those of you accusing him of being pro-Trump, this is the guy who basically gave legs to the fake Russiagate and, Steele dossier story. The Trump-Russia collusion allegation, saying that him and Russia colluded to fix the 2016 election. This is the guy who basically gave legs to this story. He framed the early reports as if they were corroborated, was the word he used, although the details were later discredited or proven to be unverifiable. So What does this do? What does this do? What good does this book do now? It comes from a guy who's a documented hack. He has no spine and allegiance to power and the almighty dollar. I don't think he has any principles or values. I think he wants whatever is going to help him peddle influence. So Republicans are just going to say, I told you so. Liberals will put their heads in the sand and cover their ears and go, la, 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 I can't hear you. And nothing gets changed. Him releasing this now after covering this up for years is like when you're seeing a football game or a basketball game or whatever, where the officials have probably got money on one of the other teams and it's just so blatantly fixed. And, you know, one team's shot 52 free throws and the other shot 6. And then the other, you know, the team that's getting all the calls is up by 38 points with a minute left. And all of a sudden the refs call 2 or 3 fouls real quick just to even. So, you know, on the stat sheet, it looks like the game was called a little bit more closely than it actually was. That's what they're doing right here. That's all this is. We got one more video from Jake on another political show. Let's check out what he had to say here. This is an award-winning journalist, CNN news anchor with some real breakthrough shit here.
And I think that we need to be skeptical of everything that we are told by people in power. And I mean, that obviously should be the mantra of being a journalist to begin with. If your mother tells you she loves you, get a second source. Right. But we just need to remember that. Like, politicians lie. White Houses lie. Power is an aphrodisiac. And we just need to all remember that and not take at face value anything that we're told.
This guy's been in the political journalism game for decades. And he just came through with that breakthrough. Politicians lie. I mean, I think the guy deserves a Pulitzer Prize. Mia, what do you think? That is groundbreaking journalism.
It definitely is. Never thought about that before.
Politicians lie. You know, he really just painted it in a perspective that I'd never even considered up until now. He just couldn't believe, when you listen to this guy talk about it, he just couldn't believe that journalists and the press wouldn't dig deeper into Biden's mental state over the last 4 years. Hey, retard, you were the press. You were the lead guy on CNN. What do you mean nobody dug deeper into it? That was your fucking job. We were all screaming, there's something wrong with this guy. There's something wrong with this guy. And you just wanted to talk about the 18th COVID variant this month. You didn't care. Oh, can you believe what Putin did? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's great. Putin's an asshole. But, you know, the president just shook hands with nobody. The president just called out a dead woman and said hello at a service that was honoring her because he forgot that she was dead at her memorial service. But yeah, you better go talk about some plane crash in the Amazon. That's what we need to hear about right now. This is a guy who refused to platform Trump administration officials on his show, intentionally did not give his audience the other side's perspective by he wasn't in the situation I was in, that I'm in right now, where people from the other side don't want to come and talk on the show, and I can only get an echo chamber. It's frustrating. I'm working on it. I know. He outright refused to platform people who eagerly wanted to come on his show and get their side of the argument out to his listeners and his viewers. And he said he wouldn't bring them on because they, quote, lie the way most people breathe, end quote. Well, Jake, by releasing this book now when you did, because we know you're not a stupid person, you have more or less committed a lie of omission by refusing to tell people over the last 4 years that the emperor had no clothes. That's on you. Every accusation with these people is a confession. And I'll end this segment with this quote from Mr. Tapper himself. When describing the Trump administration in his first term, after Donald Trump had one of his many spouts with a member of the press, insulting them, calling them fake news, the enemy of the people, whatever you want to call it, Jake Tapper said, and I quote, "This is how authoritarian regimes behave. They delegitimize the press," end quote. Well, Jake, I hate to break it to you, but the Trump administration, or any politician in the country for that matter, doesn't need to delegitimize the press because you guys have done a fantastic job at delegitimizing yourselves. That's been our lead topic. Stay tuned. We've got a great store brand TMZ segment coming up. All right, and now it's time to take a little break from the serious convos and get into store brand TMZ.
Justin Bieber!
All right, this week in store brand TMZ, there is a TikTok video. Mia, I'm going to be very surprised if you haven't seen it because you're more hip to the pop culture than I am. Have you heard of this folk indie singer named Brendan Abernathy and his new upcoming song, Married in a Year?
No, never
No?
heard that.
You haven't seen the guy singing barefoot in a circle of people at a concert with an acoustic guitar. You're in for a treat because this is Song of the Year right here. This might be this year's We Bring the Boom.
You'll be married in a year in the suburbs with a kid on the way in 3. Convincing yourself you're living the American dream.
Look at his toes. He's standing on his tippy toes.
And I'll be dancing out in California. Kid who got it all wrong. Convincing myself one day I'll write a love song.
Now, this guy has been absolutely clowned relentlessly on the internet for making that song. And you know what? He should be. I love, like, the revelation he comes to mid-song there. That, as it turns out, women actually prefer a guy with health insurance to some dweeb singing in front of 12 people in his socks. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Can we talk? It's a little creepy, these breakup songs. The breakup songs are just getting a little creepy. Like, they had their place once upon a time, but when you make your whole brand about how much you miss your ex and all your songs, or one out of every 3 songs is about the one who got away, you give off a little bit of stalkerish vibes. Would you agree with that?
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
But, like, then again, that's like their brand.
That's what's weird about it. I can't wait for the sequel. Yeah, how do you think the sequel to that song's gonna go? Married for a... You've been married in a year in the suburbs. A restraining order against me. 3 911 calls and pepper spray cans on your keys. You think it'll go something like that? How about the second verse? Now I'm a sex offender in California. The kid who got it all wrong. For breaking into your house and jerking myself off in your thong. Sometimes I got to remind the audience I can sing, you know? You think that'd be the sequel there? I totally just made that up. That was off the cup.
Yeah, that's going to be the sequel.
That was off the dome.
Part 2.
Part 2 to Married in a Year. Restraining order in a year. B&E in a year. I say, people have defended some of the criticism of this guy because people have just mocked him relentlessly, as they should. They're saying, oh, he's vulnerable. He's just being vulnerable, and you're shaming him. We should shame people, specifically men, for being that vulnerable all the time. Men, we don't need to be vulnerable all the time. It's okay. The greatest societies in the history of the world have been established by men bottling their problems up and talking to nobody about them. I'm not exaggerating right now. Sometimes I get it. You need to talk with your bros. What you don't need to do is throw a fucking bandana over your head and sing to people in your socks on your tippy toes. There's a difference. There's a line there. We need to shame these people. We need to bring shame back in this country as a whole, not just for losers like that. Shame is the missing ingredient to making America great again. As it turns out, people just don't like the starving artist thing. It's not that appealing, guys. I wish that would die too. The romanticization of the starving artist. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. And you know, what's hilarious is the people that romanticize being a starving artist are the people that sit there from their ivory towers and refer to everybody else as privileged. Oh, you're white privileged, you're male privileged, you're heterosexual, thin privileged, or whatever. There's nothing more privileged than romanticizing being poor. Because I'll tell you right now, there ain't no poor people out there that are living in a studio Section 8 apartment on food stamps that are just trying to get by, that are going, man, I really wish I lived in my car right now and played my guitar for a couple bucks an hour. That's not happening. That is exclusively a rich person, or at the very least, upper middle class person fantasy. Let me tell you, I've been on the road and pulled up to motels that the bookers were nice enough to give me. They probably just gave him a deal if they didn't turn him in for running crack and hookers out of him for the night, and said, nope, my car doesn't have bed bugs. There's nothing glamorous about that. There is nothing to romanticize about that. Bad deal. Now, I didn't make my living off stand-up. I didn't blow up and that paid all the bills. But the starving artist thing ain't all it's cracked out to be. I can promise you, I've been there. Not fun. Not fun. I mean, it's fun in that, like, it's not the worst, right? It's not like you're homeless under a bridge or something like that. But yeah, anyway. All right, I'm done. I'm done with this goofball, this doorknob, Brendan Abernathy. Do you think Brendan will come on the show and do an interview?
Yeah, have him do a live performance.
Yeah, we'll have him and that screaming guy on at the same time. The screaming guy can tell him all about it. All right, let's go to the next one here. What's the next one here? Pull it up. Oh, no, not that one. I will do that one last. Demi Lovato got married. Look, pull her up. This is a picture from her wedding. She looks good. She looks good. She looks normal. She gave up the gender crap. You know, she's got a spiderweb prison tat on her shoulder. But I'm not even going to insult her teeth, because you know what? They're probably new from all the meth she was doing. So they're probably not even real. Work with what you got, right? Or was she doing heroin? I don't remember.
I don't know. Heroin, I think.
Oh, so I'm sorry to the Lovato family. She was shooting heroin, not smoking meth. Deepest apologies. I no problem correcting myself on air when I'm wrong. She looks good. And that's the thing you see with Demi Lovato right there is, I feel like a lot of these people that get too deep into this LGBTQ 4K HD TV plus exclamation point community cult, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like a lot of the people, specifically the girls that fall into that death trap, minus all if they would remove the makeup and the mental illness and the hair dye and the 68 piercings and just try to look like a normal girl, I feel like a lot of them are naturally pretty conventionally attractive. Am I right on this?
Yeah.
A lot of the non-binary, the girls that go, I'm polysexual, non-binary, whatever, if they would just look normal, most of them are actually fairly conventionally attractive. And there used to be this commercial in the 80s or the 90s. They had they had an egg, and they'd say, this is your brain, and then they start frying the egg and say, this is your brain on drugs. I feel like it needs to be updated to this is your face, and this is your face on woke. Because it's like I said, man, you get these girls that, yeah, maybe they're not going to win America's Next Top Model, but they're cute, right? They're fairly attractive. They could attract a decent dude that's not a scumbag or a weirdo or a loser or anything like that. If you sprinkle a little bit of personality in there.
You're a loser!
And they just become these hideous mutants when they fall in to the alphabet people ideology. It is. It's a disease. And men, you're not mad enough at the left for this. Single young men out there that are bitching about the male loneliness epidemic, blame them, because they took a percentage of girls that were otherwise pretty cute and they robbed you of them. If they're even interested in dudes, if they even know how to define what a male human being is, they're dog-faced ugly. By design.
Big, stupid, ugly ogre.
What happened to this country? I mean, the makeup industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. The plastic surgery industry is a multi-billion, whatever dollar industry. From people spending money they, in a lot of cases, don't have to make themselves look more attractive than they actually are. That was the case for decades, hundreds of years in this country. For whatever reason, over the last 5 to 10 years, at least a segment of the country, we've culturally shifted. Now women are spending money to make themselves look uglier. What are we doing? It's the societal decay and rot in this country, and it's a symptom of it. That's what happens when I drink coffee on the air. Let's go to J-Lo. Play. What was the music award show? What was it called that she was performing at?
American Music Awards.
No Taylor Swift. Do you think Taylor Swift would have done this if she were on the opening?
No.
I thought Taylor did make out with a chick one time, though.
That's a rumor.
I thought it was on video. The gays really want to claim Taylor.
It's a video rumor. It didn't happen.
Yeah, just like Biden. Oh, yeah, you and Jake Tapper are going to write a book about that next. That's, yeah, so J-Lo gave this very PG, family-friendly performance to open up the Open! Not close. Open up the American Music Awards. Go ahead. Is that Chapel Roan? It's also Chapel Roan. All right, that's enough. First off, I'm weirded out by this woman that's 55 years old dancing around seductively. Second off, Mia, how fun was that to watch with a 12-year-old and your father in the same room as us? How fun was that to watch J-Lo tongue two random dykes on national television with the 12-year-old in the same room?
My dad
no
was
warning.
So confused.
Yeah, your sister didn't care. No warning. Nothing. Just going to go for it.
No, because my sister's immune to that. Like, that's what she's growing up
That's
with.
what the kids do. That's what they saw. This shit's all over media now. Yeah, it is. They're immune to it. I mean, when I was 12, well, if I saw two chicks kissing on TV when I was 12, I probably would have had to go to the bathroom for a couple minutes. But when I was 12, that was taboo, right? It wasn't normal. It was like you saw that in front of your parents. It was awkward, right? It's like watching a movie with Mia about the Trail of Tears or some type of other atrocity the American government committed against the Indians. It's awkward, right? It's like watching a sex scene with your parents. So seeing that, it's not like that was super late. That was 7 o'clock Central Time, 5 o'clock Pacific Time. I remember Adam Lambert did that a long time ago, kissed a dude. And they were making the argument that, it was 10 o'clock on the East Coast. Yeah, bro, but it was 8 Central Time, or excuse me, 9 Central Time, and 8 o'clock on the West Coast. Not exactly late. 7 o'clock on the West Coast. You know what I mean. But so it's just really hard for me to watch this stuff. And it just comes back to the central point about how we need to bring back shame. And I saw a quote about the recent antics in a lot of these award shows, and it really summed it up. I don't remember who said it. I wish I could give him credit for it. It wasn't me. I wish I could think of something this profound. But they said it's becoming abundantly clear that these award shows are no longer for the audience. The audience is no longer the target demographic of these shows. This is for the celebrities to try to outdo each other and pat each other on the back and feel good about themselves. That's what this has become. They are no longer targeted to us because I'm telling you right now, you're watching something at 7 o'clock on was that Monday or Sunday? On a Monday. You're watching something at 7 o'clock on a Monday. You've probably been home from work for an hour. You just got done eating dinner. You want to chill and watch TV with your family. You got a wife and daughters that want to watch this music award crap because maybe they think Taylor Swift or the tinfoil Taylor Swift conspiracy of the week is finally going to come true here. And then it turns out she's not even there because she's at a private fundraiser dinner with President Trump. That last part wasn't true, but I joined a bunch of Taylor Swift groups and I've been telling them that that's where she was. because that's what I do for fun. I gaslight them into believing she's a closet Trump supporter. I plant just enough of a seed to make it just believable enough that they don't know and they question their fanhood and their political ideology at the same time. It's a very fun head game to gaslight these women on Facebook. It's a hobby of mine. But maybe they wanted to watch this award show. I'm sorry. I think the average American family that wants to sit down and watch an award show with all their favorite musicians on it has a reasonable expectation to not see a 55-year-old woman tongue 3 people, 2 of whom are the same gender as her, in a 10-second span. I don't think that's an unreasonable request. I don't think it's out of the question. I'm not saying that it should be a law required by the government, but I am saying maybe as the network you have a little bit of a responsibility to rein in what you play at 7 o'clock primetime on television. Have you considered that? Maybe it's time to bring homophobia back as well. Like, because that's like, I've lived through both extremes. I'm in a very rare position here. I've lived through both extremes. I lived through the late 90s and 2000s where you had the pray away the gay people and all that and the social conservatives. And now I've lived through this everything is okay and we don't know what shame is generation. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'd much prefer the middle. I think that's the rational choice. I think we can all coexist. But if my choice is pray away the gay camp or J-Lo tongue kissing 2 women that are young enough to be her daughter on national television at 7 o'clock in the evening, I'm going to go with the homophobes. That's the choice you're going to make me make. If you're going to make this a binary choice, as the left likes to paint it, I don't think you want to do that because it's going to backfire on you. A lot of people are going to go with the homophobes on this one. And you're seeing polls are suggesting support for gay rights has begun to fall for the first time in decades in this country. And it's because it's been an overcorrection from the era where you had the idiocy where people, I do think listen, my religious beliefs are different than my political beliefs. I do think it's ridiculous for a state government or a federal government to be able to tell two consenting adults they can't get married or join in some type of union. I agree with that. Okay. I also think what we just saw there is ridiculous. And I think the way that blatant LGBTQ propaganda has been shoved down all of our throats, and more specifically, our children's throats, is ridiculous. So don't make me choose here, because one of them directly affects me and the other one doesn't. And what you will find out, the further you decide to push on this LGBTQ 4K HD TV issue, is when you present something to people as a binary choice, because that's what the left's done. Anyone who doesn't like that disgusting PDA on national television is inherently a homophobe. When you present it as a binary choice, even though it doesn't have to be one, people are naturally inclined to choose the one that doesn't affect them. They're going to go with the one that hurts them and their family the least. And what you're going to find out is there are a whole lot more straight people in this country than there are members of the alphabet community. So you're playing with fire on this overcorrection shit here. Okay, we got 2 more for Store Brand TMZ, and then we'll get out of here. This is a take from Josh Pate on 3 about college football. It's gone all over the internet. I want you guys to drop a comment on YouTube and Rumble. Let me know what you think about it. Go ahead, play it.
There's Ohio State. Let's say Michigan's in town. And let's say it's midway through the 3rd quarter, and they're deadlocked at 17, and it's 4th and 1 on your own 38-yard line, and they're opting to go for it. Clock's ticking down, huddle breaks, 5, 4, 3, crowds at full throat. Just pause right there. Is anybody thinking about whether Ohio State had OTA workouts? Is anybody thinking about how much the left tackle's making? You're not. So the point is, the game hasn't really been ruined at all. If that moment feels different, if that moment is ruined, then college football has ruined itself. Does Saturday still feel like Saturday in the fall? Because that's really the great barometer. So my answer is yes, Saturday still feels like Saturday. I think college football is extremely resilient. Like, it is extremely strong. It's the redwood. You could chop a redwood down, but you don't do it with 5 or 10 swings. It'd take a lot to chop down a redwood, all concentrated, all at one spot on that tree. And don't do it because you'll get arrested. But point being, it takes a lot to ruin college football. That's a byproduct of how great it is.
So I disagree with this, and I'll try to make this quick because that's not what this show is about. But I think the NIL and everything, it's an interesting subject, so I want to talk about it. They're not chopping the redwood down. They're not hitting it at center mass trying to take the tree down. They've just cut off a bunch of the limbs. And while, yes, it's still a redwood and it's still standing, it's not the tree that it once was. He's correct. Ohio State and Michigan, those teams are going to be fine. Saturday still feels like Saturday to them. You give this 5 years, though, Saturday's not going to feel like Saturday to Kansas State, to BYU, to Houston, to Akron, to Coastal Carolina, because those teams are going to become feeder schools that no one wants to spend their money or invest their money in. And those are really the teams, whether people want to admit it or not, that prop up college football. They're what make it interesting. They're what make it not, a lower, basically a farm league for the NFL. I don't want a farm league for the NFL. I enjoy having 100 and bumfuck teams. I think it's fun. I think when you see schools, the issue they're having right now is an issue that's unique to college football. Remember, I told you the NBA's issue wasn't the woke stuff. It wasn't any of that. There wasn't the politics. Those didn't help, but that wasn't the NBA's central issue. The NBA's central issue with why their viewership is hemorrhaging while the NFL's has stood strong is because the NBA decided to become a player-centered league. What does that mean? A player-centered league is a league where fans, specifically younger fans, follow specific players where they go. They're no longer fans of teams. You don't have that tribalistic sense of loyalty that you used to when you were watching the NBA. My generation was really the last generation that picked a favorite basketball team. Now, I don't even watch it anymore because the players bounce around so much. College football is going to inherit kind of that problem, but it's an even bigger one because college football, you're not losing the tribalism and sense of community that comes with college football because a lot of that's tied to where you were born. The problem with that becomes, because these guys can commit there for a year and then just bounce into the transfer portal and leave when somebody offers them more money, what's happening now is fans are getting burnt out. They don't attach themselves to players, and eventually they're not going to attach themselves to teams because they know, oh, this receiver looked really good here as a freshman. Boom, somebody else comes along, offers him $500,000 a year. You don't want to pay that for a guy that hey, has potential, but he's not going to start right away, and now he's gone. Or maybe you don't have the money or whatever the case may be. I don't like that. They got to find some type of happy medium. I don't care if the players make money. I support it. But I think there's got to be some type of reining this in. We can't just have boosters writing checks. There needs to be actual advertisements. You want to sell autographs because that's what NIL was supposed to be, right? When you had Johnny Manziel and those Ohio State players were selling their autographs and memorabilia for free tattoos and a little bit of cash on the side, that was fine. That, again, we're talking about overcorrections. It's always an overcorrection, right? I don't care if a guy wants to get a free tattoo because he signed a helmet for somebody's kid. I don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem with some oil tycoon coming in and giving an 18-year-old kid a 7-figure check before he even sets foot on a college campus. That I have an issue with. So, no. I don't think Saturdays are the same. College football isn't ruined, but it's not the same because of NIL, because there's no loyalty to teams anymore. And when there's no loyalty to teams, the fans are naturally going to check out because they're not going to get their hopes up anymore. That's half of college football. I'm a Nebraska fan. I know that better than anybody. When's the last time Nebraska's been nationally relevant for any consistent period of time? Mia, do you know? At least 25 years.
Yeah, because I pay attention to Nebraska so much.
The last 25 years, the best part of college football has been getting my hopes up in the off season. Now I can't even do that because I'm constantly stressed about what player's going to transfer where. So no. All right, we have one more for Store Brand TMZ. This is an individual that got a little riled up on a trip to the liquor store, and he hadn't even started drinking yet. Go ahead and play this.
You gonna check my ID or not?
Would you like me to?
Would I like you to? What does that say on your chest right there?
Okay, yes, let me see.
It says under 21, you should check my ID, right?
Well,
So I've already, let me just say this. I've actually asked you guys in the past if you check and this is the same deal. I reported you to the alcohol, tobacco, firearms last time. And here you are this time saying the same thing to me. I'll give you my ID, but why didn't you check it last time? I told the police that you guys aren't checking IDs here, and now you're not checking them still?
Well, to me, you look like you're 40.
No, so now you're changing your story. So now I look like you said I could be. You said I could be, but now you're saying I don't.
Well,
so do I look under 40 or not?
You look like you could be 40.
Oh, okay. So now I look like I could be 40. So go ahead and just don't even check my ID then.
Okay.
Yeah, ring it up.
640, please.
You guys ready for ATF to be here again? Is that what you're ready for?
Yeah.
What's your name? Laura.
Laura.
I got it on camera here. Yeah. Why don't you do your job right? All right.
That's a guy who is just turned 40 and has accomplished nothing and realizes he probably looks older than he actually is and is not taking it well. Or maybe he's like 38 and her telling him that he looks like he's over 40 and doesn't even need to be carded is offensive to him. What do you think? Do you think he's out of line, or was he correct to freak out?
I think he's out of line. We've got a.
Was that from the same place?
Yeah.
Total Wine and Spirits, love it. Maybe we'll spend some of our money there. See if they'll card me. I don't get card. It's flip a coin if I get carded anymore. You can tell. You can tell if somebody might be a little bit. I don't know if you're a kid or not, or if someone's like in their mid to late 20s. You really can. I know they say you're supposed to card, but you can tell. But based off what they're buying. Because my thing is, I don't go to, part of the reason I don't think I get carded is because when I go to the grocery store or the liquor store or whatever to get booze, I'm not buying kid liquor. I mean, you know what kid liquor sounds really weird. That's the new nickname for Tim Walz. I'm not buying kid alcohol, right? I mean, you know there's a difference, right, between kid alcohol and adult alcohol. If I'm checking out with an $85 bottle of bourbon, there ain't no 20-year-old in the country that's doing that. If I'm getting a six-pack of this weird, like, domestic craft beer, and I'm not a big craft beer fan, but there's a couple different fusions I like. But if I'm getting something like that, that's not a kid alcohol. If you're getting a 20-pack of Keystone Light, you damn right they're going to card me. If I got some Svedka, or what's that nasty shit called? Oh, fuck, it's going to drive me nuts. It's some type of vodka. It comes in a blue bottle.
UV blue?
No, that's another one. UV blue is what we drank in high school. Sky vodka is what we drank in college. That if I was going to get something like that, yeah, they would card me. You know, if I'm buying a bottle of wine, they're not worried about me. There ain't no kid in his 20 years old, 19 years old, that's taking a bottle of wine back to a party with his friends to go get fucked up on. Now, a girl might be a different story.
My brother.
Rare exception. Rare exception there. I've seen people freak out when asked for their IDs, but never when not asked for their IDs. I think this is actually a first. Have you ever seen this? Someone freak out that they weren't asked for their ID? I'm at the point where if they ask me for my ID, I say, thank you for humoring me. You know, the only time I get carded is when I'm with you, now that I think of it. And you order something at a bar or a restaurant, and they just don't want to hurt my feelings, so they ask me. I think that might be the only time. Anyway, that's been Store Brand TMZ. Stay tuned. We got a whole bunch of trending topics coming up for you in just un momento. All right, and trending this week is brought to you by Tactilian. If you go over to tactilian.com, TACTILIAN.com, and you drop the promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show, you'll save not 10, but 15% off your order at the checkout on gifts for the Patriot in your life. They've got apparel, home and office decor, vehicle decals, even something for Fido. Fido is used in every TV show and movie, but I've never once seen the name Fido on anyone's dog. Have you ever seen anyone name their dog Fido, Mia? Not once have I seen anyone name their dog Fido. Anyway, it's tactilian.com, TACTILIAN.com. With the promo code BASED, BASED, like the title of the show, you're going to save yourself 15% off your order at the checkout. One more time, Tactilian, TACTILIAN.com. With the promo code BASED. Like the title of the show, you'll save 15% off your order at the checkout. All right, let's get into our first trending topic. So the Democrats went out. So we've covered on this show a lot, especially recently, that the Democrats have a real problem with a particular demographic, specifically young men. Young men have been a massive problem for the Democrats as of recently, and they see it as a problem as well. You know, we saw after the election, they went out and they said, we need to find our own Joe Rogan. Well, you had your own Joe Rogan. His name was Joe Rogan, and you ran him off because he wouldn't bend the knee on all of your retarded policies. So then he saw people, which happens so often, specifically to men on the left. He saw some folks on the right who were a little bit more sympathetic to him. And while he didn't agree with them on necessarily everything or even most things, they were willing to hear him out. And he was willing to hear them out. And when they caught his ear, he realized that a lot of what they were saying actually made sense and wasn't coming from the point that he had been told it was, and that's why he drifted further and further to the right. It wasn't a grift. It was simply a result of you guys eating your own and running your most influential members off as your tone-deaf idiots. So the Democrats saw this problem they had with young men, and they went out and they dropped $20 million. $20 million on a new movement called SAM. Speaking with American Men is what it's called, SAM. It promises an investment to study the syntax, language, and content that gains attention and virality in these spaces. So here's how I know this is going to fail, right? Here's how I know this is already going to fail. Because they're trying to use a study to get to men. Young men don't give a damn about stuff. Don't you love how they're paying millions of dollars to study us? Like they're the fucking Crocodile Hunter. Or it's like National Geographic. And they're out studying us like we're some animal in the wild that they just can't comprehend our ecosystem and how we work. How is this so foreign to them? So foreign. I mean, I'm not a woman. Right? I'm not, obviously. I know there's some people that might say I can identify as whatever I want. I'm not a woman, but I at least somewhat... I'm a man! That's a good one. I at least somewhat understand how the female brain works. Do I not? I do okay. I don't say things like... I don't just do egregious stereotypes like you see the Democrats do toward men, because they spent $20 million on this study. And their big takeaway from this was that they need to spend more ads on video games. More money in video game ads to reach young men. So they still don't get it. They still don't get it. There it is. You cracked the code. You cracked the code. $20 million. It took you. And you still couldn't figure it out. Maybe another $20 million will get you the right answer. I'm not going to tell you guys the right answer. I'm not even going to tell you. Because my audience that's listening to me, because I'm done giving free game to the enemy. I really am. My audience that's listening to me, that enjoys this content, they already know the answer. They know what you guys need to do, or at least some semblance of what you guys need to do to reach more young men. I'm not giving you the answer anymore. I'm done giving you the answers to the test. We're not doing this. So, $20 million. they learned that they didn't do anything wrong in the last election, more or less. So, because that's what they did, was they tried to have Tim Walz appeal to men by playing Madden with AOC. And then he said something about she can run a mean pick six. A pick six isn't a play you run, you fucking idiot. You out of touch dipshit. So, I can't get this to work here. I was trying to pull the whole article up so I could read it, but it was more or less the same stuff there. But so the Democrats finally learned that they can appeal to young men through video game ads. I think they should throw some ads on Pornhub too, because that's what they reduced us to in the last election when they were trying to appeal to men, was video games, porn, and weed. And then they tried to like shoehorn abortion in there too and be like, hey, we don't want you guys to have to claim responsibility for your actions, so you fuck some chick raw and get her knocked up. The Republicans aren't going to let you ejectocito on that. You know, if the Democrats are going to make porn a central part of their campaign and their platform, can we at least get AOC on OnlyFans? Can we get that trade-off at least? I mean, I'm not going to subscribe, but it'll get leaked somewhere. I'll be able to see it, right? I just want to see it. Maybe we could do that. Maybe that's how she'll fundraise for her presidential campaign in 28. What do you think? Yeah, unconventional method.
That's one way to get.
She'd get a lot of Republican men to donate money. A lot of Republican men to donate money. That's all I'm saying. It'd be a bipartisan fundraising effort. They may not vote for her, but they'd send her money. There was a libertarian who ran for some weird office in Florida that fundraised for her account on OnlyFans.
What's next? Requiring a license to make toast in your own damn toaster?
No, that we've needed those for a long time. Long time. There's some of you that I genuinely believe are too stupid to make toast in your own damn toaster. It's hilarious though. It's hilarious. The Democrats saying, or actually no, play this video of Olivia Giuliana, the 450-pound whale Twitter slacktivist, is she's going to be their spearhead on the relating to men initiative here. Go ahead, check this out.
The reason why Republican messaging resonates
That's
with
not
men
her.
is because men want bad things.
No, you can play. No, you can play. That was she'll be on in a second.
The reason why
No, I was just
Republican messaging resonates with men is because men want bad things, right? It's like men want to have sex and like own women, right? Like they want to dominate everybody, and Republicans say you get to do that, and then Democrats can't say that. So we just lost men; it's over, right? Like, what are you talking about? Like a lot of times it will be men that are liberals who will like agree with that shit. I'm like, dude, what are you like? What is going on? Like there's a lot of men that don't think that way, obviously, and it's just such a negative view to take on like half of the human race.
Well, I also think it's just so abundantly clear that the people who say these things don't actually spend time talking to young men. You know this because we know each other in real life, but I spend a lot of time on college campuses, and I spend a lot of time with
young men.
I love young men.
Almost as much as Tim
I love
Walz.
frat guys. And in that, I realized, like, even the ones that identify as conservative are almost always pro-choice. They're almost always pro-gay marriage. You'd be surprised at the number of them who supported Black Lives Matter. And so I feel like people just kind of lump them into this box when the truth is, again, a lot of them are with us on the issues. They're just not part of our coalition because they feel like they're not welcomed in it.
So they're conservative young men. They love the LGBTQ community. They love the BLM. They love the abortion. Sweetheart. Can I call you sweetheart? I'm going to call you sweetheart. That is the oldest trick in the book among conservative men. It's called libertarian to get laid. They'll pretend they could never call themselves a liberal because it would make them physically ill to say that. They want low taxes. They want to be able to own guns. Right? So they fall in line with conservatives on those issues. They like weed, but all college kids like weed. They don't really care about abortion because they don't have the worldview shaped to where that's an issue that is really going to bother them. And they don't really care about the LGBTQ community because, again, it really doesn't affect them. They haven't seen a lot of how egregious some of the alphabet community, not gay people getting married, I'm talking some of the other letters get. So they will pretend that they're with women on those issues to sleep with them, when in reality, they're not pro-choice. They're not pro-LGBTQ. They're not pro-BLM. They just don't give a damn about them yet because they're not issues that really pop up at that point in your life. You got too much you're thinking about, right? They don't care. But if it means they can get a date, if it means they can get laid, they're going to tell you they agree with you. They're not actually on your side. And the fact that this woman that's built like, you know, the fourth string offensive guard on a junior varsity high school team is her and Tim Walz are the ones they've got spearheading this initiative, tells me they're never going to understand what they're doing wrong. I mean, look no further than this ad they aired during the election. It's not the porn ad. I don't want to creep you guys out. Remember this one? Mia thought this was a fucking SNL sketch.
I'm a man. I'm a man.
I'm a man, man.
And I'm man enough.
I'm man enough to enjoy a barrel-proof bourbon.
Neat.
Man enough to cook my steak rare.
Man enough to deadlift 500, then braid the out of my daughter's
I cannot
hair.
deadlift.
You think I'm afraid to rebuild a carburetor? I eat carburetors for breakfast.
I ain't afraid of bears.
That's what bear hugs are for.
I'll tell you another thing I sure as shit am not afraid of.
We know that
Women.
last guy loved bears.
I'm not afraid of women.
I'm not afraid of women.
They want to control their bodies? I say go for it.
They want to use IVF to start a
Crazy
family?
homeless guy.
I'm not afraid of families.
They want to be childless cat ladies?
Have all the cats you want.
Woman wants to be president?
Well, I hope she has the guts to look me right in
Look at
the
how he's
eye
sitting.
and accept my full-throated endorsement.
Because I'm man enough to support women.
Man enough to know what kind of
All right, we get it. That's
Man
enough.
enough to
Everyone
admit
saw
I'm
this
wrong.
ad. We played it ad nauseum. It might have been the worst ad in the history of American politics. But again, those guys in Tim Walz are the devil. Because it's like I tell you guys all the time. We understand people have different viewpoints. We have to understand that people have different perspectives than us. People see the world from a different lens, right? There's a different angle they look at things. And that's why they come to the conclusions they do. In their mind, that was not meant to mock you as a man. Tim Walz was not meant to insult you when they picked him. In their minds, Tim Walz and the goofballs you saw in that fucking joke of an ad are genuinely what the average middle-class Midwestern American is like. They genuinely believe that. That's what we have to understand. That's how out of touch these people are. That they truly thought we were going to relate to that. They hired these guys, they shot the ad, and they went, this is great. And it blew up in their faces. I mean, there was rumor that Carville blew, right before that ad leaked, that James Carville blew up on a bunch of Kamala staffers, called them a bunch of out-of-touch faggots and Gen Z losers. And to the point people were in literal tears on this conference call because of an ad they showed him that they were super proud of. Something tells me it was that ad. And you know what? If I was trying to win an election and somebody that was working under me showed me that, I'd call him a faggot too. Mind you, this is what CNN said back during the election. Check this out. It just shows how out of touch they are. Let's do a little throwback here. Sure, why not?
Very different female candidates, but they are doing so in trying to put forward male figures, Tim Walz being one of them, Doug Emhoff last night.
Oh, yeah.
Who can speak to men out there who might not be the sort of testosterone-laden, you know, gun-toting kind of guy who wants to listen to Hulk Hogan and the kind of
Okay, that's enough.
players that came out of the RNC.
So there you go. They said it right there. Tim Walz and Doug Emhoff were selected to target men with low testosterone. That's what they just said. That's what they had in mind. Pussy bleeding little bitches. So you could go with her take on that they intentionally didn't want to attract men who were masculine, which, you know what? If you want to write off 80% of men, then go ahead and do it. Or you can go with my take, which is that they're so out of touch, they genuinely believe Tim Walz, Doug Emhoff, and the clowns in that video are man's men. You can pick. I mean, they're both horrible if you're the Democrats. Horrible. And I'm not going to tell you the answer because, like I said, my audience already knows it, and we're not going to give you the answer key to the test here. I'm not going to tell you the answer to winning men back. What I will tell you is why you've gotten where you are. And that in a lot of cases, it's probably too late. Are you coming back? In a lot of cases, it's probably too late. Because you took this group of people, men, heterosexual white men in some cases, but in a lot of cases, you didn't really narrow it. You didn't specify along racial lines. But you took this group of people, heterosexual men, and demonized them for decades. Through the school system, through the media, through corporations, from, the political pulpit. You beat it into their heads from the moment they started grade school that there was something inherently wrong with being a man. You told them that their masculinity was toxic. You ran ads like that Gillette ad, which, by the way, I don't believe in. I think boycotts, for the most part, are a waste of time. I will not spend money at a company that openly disdains me. It's one of the few companies I still boycott to this day is Gillette and Ben & Jerry's. You told them that all men were potential predators, rapists, or abusers simply because they were men. That was a go-to feminist narrative in the 20-teens. I remember it. Don't sit here and lie and tell me it didn't happen. You're on tribunal right now. You don't get to deny the things we all know you said. You made quotes like, "The future is female," implying that we had nothing to do with the future. Not the future, not female should be part of the future. No, the future was female. So we were out of the picture in your ideal of the future. And yes, while it may have been wrong that in the past men excluded women, what you should have done is learn from the past and said, hey, how about we work together for the future? The future is equality. True equality, not your bullshit version of it. The future is equality, where we can coexist as men and women and have our, appropriate gender roles while still taking input from women. But no, you didn't learn from the past. You instead, like when Isildur could have tossed the ring into the fires in Mount Doom, instead of learning from the past mistakes in this country, you decided to repeat them. Instead of bridging a divide when we had a chance, when everyone was all equal and happy with each other in the 90s and 2000s, you decided to go for revenge. Revenge for something that happened when, let's be honest, a lot of you weren't even alive. You beat it into men's heads for decades. Decades. Believe all women. And told men that if they were falsely accused, which happens a lot, we've had people on this show that we have all but proven were falsely accused. But you told men that even if they were falsely accused, that was a price you were willing to pay to get justice for women who'd been hurt. And by the way, we should get justice for women who had been hurt, but not at the expense of innocent parties. You were willing to accept innocent men's lives who pissed off an ex-girlfriend or whatever, or some girl wanted to get ahead at her job or whatever the case may be. You were willing to sacrifice their lives and view them as collateral damage if it meant you got your end goal. Because let's be honest, the believe all women thing wasn't really about believing women. For a lot of feminists out there, there was a sick sense of pleasure that they got knowing that, well, yes, they would be able to help some real victims from this, they'd also be able to hurt some innocent men in the process. That was a big part of it for them. So when the Democrats come out and they run studies saying, how do we win back a group that we've spent the last 2 decades demonizing and talking about like they're these wild, untamed animals who shouldn't even be allowed in polite society? It's kind of like if it was like the 1940s and the German Nazi Party went, how do we relate to the Jews more? We're really struggling with these Jewish voters. How do we get more Jews to vote for us? Now, obviously, that's an extreme example, and I'm exaggerating intentionally to drive the point home, but you get what I'm saying. And as a conservative, I'm not conservative on every issue, but I am conservative. I vote Republican more often than I don't. It brings me peace to know that of the two genders, the Democrats are continuing to struggle to comprehend the least complicated of them. Let's be honest. Men are more than porn, weed, and video games, and slacking off on our responsibilities as fathers. Because those are the 4 pillars of masculinity, if you ask the Democrats. While we are more than those things, we're really not all that complicated. If we have a problem with you, we'll tell you what it is. We don't beat around the bush. We don't wait for you to figure out what that problem is. We'll tell you what it is. Except right now, I'm not going to tell you what the answer is to your problem, because I think it's funny to watch you guys squirm and waste your money and time on it. We're not all that difficult to understand. It seems to me that the Democrat Party is willing to do anything and everything, whether it be spending tens of millions of dollars on an initiative, running all these expensive surveys, hiring these outside big shot consultants from DC and Hollywood and New York and all these places, hiring actors, running all these ads, bringing in politicians. The Democratic Party is willing to do anything and everything to learn what it takes to relate to the average male voter, except actually having conversations with these average male voters. They won't do it. And that's why they're going to continue to lose, and that brings me great pleasure. Next up, Andrew Tate. I'll do a little segue there. Andrew Tate got some charges filed against him in England. Andrew and his brother Tristan. Now, there's still some of the charges in Romania. They still got to get tried on those. But they've been charged with over 20 offenses against 4 women, allegedly, including sexual assault, human trafficking, abuse, all kinds of stuff for the Tate brothers. And here, let me preface this, because every time we bring these guys up, and we normally have a no Andrew Tate rule unless it's a story we can't avoid, because I just think the topic is redundant and he exhausts me to even bring up. Every time we bring up Andrew Tate, we naturally get a little bit of hate in the comments, and that's fine. That's fine. Here's what I'll say. I'm not going to argue with you guys. I'm not going to come back at you and do that. You're going to yell into the void. I'm not going to address you, because there are 2 types of Andrew Tate fanboys. And I'm specifically talking fanboys, people that enjoy him as a person, not necessarily just the things he says, some of the things he says. There's 2 types. There are lost young men, many of whom probably grew up without a father figure. They're in their early 20s. They don't have a lot of life experience. Their worldviews have not been fully formed yet. Their brain is not functioning 100%. There's a lot going on with those guys. And unfortunately, they have been targeted by someone who is very convincing and does a very, very good job at pointing out a lot of the problems in this society, specifically within the dating game. But they're young. We had a feud that got a little too public with a certain comedian that I won't talk about on this show. And I told Mia and Jacob, we're going to stop making fun of this person on the air because I found out that she was 22 years old. And I said, you know what? Let her say what she wants. I'm not going to get into a pissing match with a kid because that's a child. I have to think back to what I was like when I was 22 and think if I were 30 years old arguing with myself, I would feel like a fucking idiot because I was arguing with a fucking idiot. So we're not going to go after children whose brains have not been fully formed and have been taken advantage of, albeit unfortunately, by somebody. It's through no fault of their own. And then the other type of subcategory for Andrew Tate's fanboys are people that are my age and older. And if you're my age and older and you're falling for that guy's con, that's just sad. And you're doing so poorly at life that it would feel like going to the Humane Society, picking out the most pathetic elderly dog there was, and then drop kicking it off a bridge if I tried to roast you on the air. So I'm just not going to do it. Because, I mean, think about people my age. If you've got anything going, not even successful, anything going in life, you're not going to fall into that guy's trap. And here's what you guys got to realize. Andrew Tate, the way he talks about the men that he scammed when he was running his webcam business, about how stupid these men were for giving him money. He hasn't learned. He doesn't see anything wrong with what he did when he was running that business. He's moved on to his next grift. Why do you guys that are sending him money and supporting, I'll do it in a second. You'll see what it is. Why are you guys that are sending him money and supporting him? Why do you believe that he sees you any differently than the men he was ripping off when he was running his OnlyFans scams? He doesn't like you. He mocks you behind your back, sometimes to your face on camera. And you continue to fall for this scam. It's so stupid. But here's the thing. This guy, Andrew Tate, and a lot of the red pill community, here's the mouse back, a lot of the red pill community as a whole, like I said, are very, very good at pointing out problems. Sometimes they're even very, very good at offering solutions to those problems. But as I've said before, the most dangerous lie is one that's coated in truth. While he may point out that men are getting a bad rap, and like we talked about in the last segment, the demonization of masculinity, it's absolutely 100% true when he says things like that. The answer does not come in cheating on your wife or having kids with multiple women on purpose or anything like that. I had a conversation with somebody. This is someone I know, and this disturbed me because I've seen how this logic is taking over really normal people. And I don't know if he's into Tate or into somebody, but I could tell he'd been listening to somebody based on the conversation we had. This is a guy with kids in a committed relationship told me out of the blue that he doesn't think it's in a man's nature to be with one woman. And the problem with that is, as I said, the most dangerous lie is one that's coated in truth. He's half right. It's not in a man's nature to be with one woman, but it is required if you want to be a real man to be able to possess the discipline and control and commitment to be with one woman. That's the difference there. That's the part that Andrew Tate and these red pill retards leave out. What are you worth if you just go sleep around with every woman under the sun and have a bunch of bastard kids walking around? Not all that much to very many people. You're a paycheck to them. Do you want to be worth more than a paycheck to somebody? Then you have to have the commitment and discipline required to maintain a healthy relationship with, yes, just one woman. And however many kids you want from that woman. As long as you can afford them and you don't want the state to fucking pay for it. So that's my problem with these guys. The red pill movement is radical feminism for men. It's having the same effect that radical feminism did when it told all these women that they were independent women who didn't need no man and to get into the workforce and blah, 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 blah. In the sense that it is destroying the nuclear family. That is the goal. This is a psyop. And I'm seeing a lot of so-called conservative influencers fall for this Andrew Tate red pill psyop that is so clearly there to destroy the American family. This guy Tate popped up out of nowhere, and became one of the most famous people on the planet. You don't see anything wrong with that? You guys that think the CIA and the FBI are lurking around every corner behind every conspiracy, you don't have any questions about, maybe Andrew Tate, I don't know, is there someone pulling the strings? And then he admits on camera that his fucking dad is a CIA agent, or was. So he's already got the connections there. You don't consider that maybe a little questionable? Andrew Tate and his whole movement, whether they know it or not, whether they're in on it or they're useful idiots who are being used as a vehicle to get us there, are there to destroy the nuclear family. They are a psyop. And so many stupid people that vote the way I do and probably agree with me on 80 to 90% of political issues are falling for it hook, line, and fucking sinker. These people have disdain for you. They mock you behind your back. They scam you, whether you know it or not. They're there to destroy you, to destabilize our society even further. They're no different than the leftists that go into the schools and teach the kids that there's 87 different fucking genders. They're just destabilizing society from the right. We got a couple videos of these guys for those of you that still want to support these fucking scumbags. Again, I got a whole segment on YouTube that's still up where we talk about how it's time for conservatives to distance themselves from Andrew Tate. We played it a couple years ago. I like to give you a refresher every now and then. And I'm not shitting on people that have been sucked into this spider web of nonsense and lies, by the way. I'm not. I'm really not. I want the best for you. I want you to come out of it. But I am going to give you some tough love. Play this video, him and his brother talking about how they make their money from a couple years ago. Go ahead.
And I gave Andrew the space to think. So he realized that he had so many beautiful girlfriends. I think he got one of them a job on a babe station channel. Yeah. And she came home one day blabbering some nonsense that Andrew was half listening to about, yeah, some of these girls make money on webcam. Now, to me and Andrew, we assumed, who pays for webcams? I mean, porn is free. Who pays for webcams? That's got to be a dying industry because me and Andrew aren't fucking cucks and we don't go on webcam and we don't pay women for their time and attention. So we never even considered it as a viable financial option. Andrew sat down. He worked it all out. Not just how to put her on webcam, how to maximize the amount of money this one girl was making. And I came home from work one day, and what words did you say?
I said, something amazing has happened.
Something amazing has happened. And I said, yeah, what? He goes, I've made £350 today. So I was like, I've made 250. What the fuck's going on here? How did you make £350? And he shows me this number on the screen next to one of his girls' videos broadcasting. Goes, that's money that's going to come to my bank account. Now, I'd never seen money on a screen unless it was like an online casino juice. So I was like, so what? You have to like gamble it, or does it? And it was like, no, that's real earned money on its way to my bank account. So rather than me going out slaving all day, I had a few chicks of my own. I put one on cam in my apartment. Then we had 4 girls on cam in 2 bedrooms, one after the other. I slept in the hall. I was that money hungry. And from there, we upgraded to a 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom penthouse over in Hitchin, Hertfordshire. Then we left the fucking UK because of shit. In Romania, you have faster internet, more girls, prettier girls, and we just grew into an empire. We were making $2 million a year, $2.5 million a year from webcam alone.
The shit that they left the UK from is the investigations into what sounds to me like a trafficking operation. We'll let the courts decide. But that's what it sounds like to me. Mia, what does that sound like to you? What?
It's just so ridiculous. I just can't stop thinking about the fact that they admitted they just gave all that information.
They just tell everybody. They just tell, if you're going to commit alleged crimes, don't brag about them on every podcast that will put a microphone in front of your face. Now, there's another alleged wire that was sent to one of the brothers because they're claiming they weren't making this money on OnlyFans and it was all TikTok, right? They were helping people manage TikTok accounts. You can look at the court documents. That's not what the accusations say. Again, these are all alleged. We'll let the courts decide what's true and what's not. I can only base my opinion off the things they've said. Now, they may claim they're jokes, but there's a famous saying in the legal system, I'm going to paraphrase here, is that everything's a joke until it's not. Until it becomes evidence, it can be a joke. But it's when you continuously repeat these things, it doesn't sound like a joke anymore. You know, that's any good comedian knows you don't beat a joke like a dead horse. You tell it once and you're done. Now, we have inside running jokes on here, but they don't involve me confessing to crimes I've committed, if you'll notice. So, allegedly, there's a wire payment that one of them received that just said OF revenue. Now, they've been charged with money laundering. I don't think you can get them on money laundering. I actually think they're innocent on this. Because as it appears to me, money laundering means you're trying to make the illegitimate funds you've received from an illegal activity appear to be legitimate. You know, they'll use front businesses, they'll wash it through crypto. There's a lot of different things they can do. These guys aren't even trying to do this. They're just admitting to what they're doing and putting it in the memo line on the cashier's checks or wires or whatever. There's one more video of Tate. If you don't think that last one is bad enough, let him spell it out for you. There's a 50 Cent song. It's a one-word song title by the same name here. If you don't know what I'm talking about, or if you can't pick up context clues from what he says here, let Andrew Tate spell out to you what his job was when he was doing this.
And I think I get this from my job. So when I'll say pimping because it was webcam, but it was essentially what it was. When I was pimping, you'd pick up a girl, but if you get a high value asset, like a girl, because that's what a beautiful woman is. A beautiful woman's a high value asset. It's like having a Ferrari. You walk down the street with a beautiful woman, it's like driving a Lambo. Everyone's staring at you. So if you pick up a high value asset, in the pimp game, you need to learn how to control her and retain her. You need to make her do as you say, and you have to keep her. And you have to keep her regardless, in spite of the fact that you cheat, you're busy, you take all her money, you make her do something she doesn't want to do, and she still has to stay with you. So to me, that's what the game was.
I mean, that sounds like a stand-up guy. Me, I don't know about that's the kind of guy I want our son to be listening to, taking life advice from, you know, telling you how to control a woman, keep her, mentally manipulate her, and he used the word, not me. Again, these are all allegations of trafficking, but when you refer to yourself as a pimp and then proceed to go into detail about the best ways to mentally manipulate and control women who are working under you, it gets very, very difficult to stand in front of a judge and go, hey, the human trafficking you've accused me of, I didn't do it.
You idiots!
I mean, they did. This isn't anything new. There's rappers that will admit to crimes in their music, and until they become the subject of a criminal or drug trafficking or whatever, and until they become the subject of a criminal investigation, they're simply lyrics. But like I said, everything's satire until it's evidence. And when they say, hey, you know, whatever this rapper is, we think this guy we have a reason to believe this guy's running a drug trafficking ring. And then they go back and listen to his music and he talks all about selling crack. Well, they're going to use that against him, especially if it was crack that they think he was selling. This isn't rocket science. And that's the other thing. If you guys are one of these guys that are, because they do this thing, this big push, because we all know about like the atrocities Pornhub's committed and all that stuff with human traffic victims and stuff like that. A lot of these webcam sites, because they're quote unquote independent creators, they're advertised as like an ethical alternative to porn because you're not feeding into a system. You're not feeding these big companies that are abusing these women and churning them out. if you're using these webcam sites as a quote unquote ethical alternative, there is a decent chance, not all the time, there's a flip a coin chance that the girl you're watching that you believe is more ethical because she's quote unquote operating on her own, that she's being trafficked. And whether it's a large scale operation or her boyfriend or husband or family member, God forbid, that's pimping her out online, there's a decent chance. Trafficking's not just you go have sex with this guy at this hotel and bring me the money or I'll smack you around. That is part of it, but that's not even a quarter of what human trafficking is what people don't realize. There's a whole bunch of methods to do it. And I know there's a little bit of gray area because there's the online thing and whatnot, but I don't know, man. If it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Here's the other thing you have to consider about the Tate brothers. When they go on here and they talk about manipulating women and rounding them up, and again, go watch my video where it's like 35, 40 minutes. We play the whole thing, all the things these guys have admitted to doing allegedly on camera. When they call themselves pimps and they talk about how to mentally control women and manipulate them and just give yourself this unlimited power over them, these are the things they publicly admit to doing. Their words, not mine. And they can say it's a joke. That's up to the judge to decide. But these are the things that they've done that they publicly admit to doing. Things that disgust the average listener, right? Let me ask you guys a question. If this is what they publicly admit to doing, what on earth are they doing in private? How many people do you know that are willing to publicly admit, not just publicly admit, but go on podcasts repeatedly in front of millions of viewers and listeners and publicly admit to the worst thing that they've ever done? None of us would ever come on the air, whether it was in front of 12 people or 12 million people, and publicly admit to the worst thing we've ever done. But we're going to make Mia do it right now. No, I'm kidding. So if we're going to go out on a limb and say it's in human nature to not publicly admit to the worst thing you've ever done, especially if that worst thing may or may not carry legal consequences for you, we can probably assume, and I'm just saying assume, I don't know anything for sure, I don't have any evidence, but a reasonable person could conclude that they've probably done worse than what they're telling you. And if these are the people that you want to put your name by and you want to support with your time and maybe even, God forbid, your fucking money, then so be it. I can't help you not be retarded. I'm not a mental health professional. I can't make you stop being a fucking fool. A fool and his money are easily.
I'm kind of retarded.
You're not kinda. You're full blown. Helmet wearing, back of the short bus, drooling in your cereal bowl, retarded. If you're still following these guys in May of 2025, June of 2025, whatever fucking month it is when this airs. That's all I got. That's all I got. Remember, like I said, they publicly mock, and in private, the people that they were scamming, or their quote-unquote customers, as they put it. Got to be fair. I don't want to get sued. I know they're suing everyone that criticizes them. They publicly mock the people, and privately, the people that are giving them money, these men that were falling for these webcam girls. They talk about how stupid and gullible and pathetic they were. What do you think they're saying about you guys that are giving them money to learn how to do whatever, drop shipping, Hustlers University, whatever? I love these guys that sell these courses. I really do. You know that Gary, you ever heard of Gary Vaynerchuk? He's that guy with wears a beanie and he's got the squeaky voice. He's on there. He's like, the next 10 years of your fucking life are the best 10 years fucking ever. And he like yells at people to hustle. I used to think he was pretty cool. I'm like, hey, he's some inspiring shit. And then I see a video with him. He's like, when I inherited my parents' winery, I'm like, okay, well, you've just lost all credibility. How about, you're going to sit here and tell me to hustle and grind and do all this stuff, and you're going to tell me that you inherited your parents' winery. Oh, yeah, it turns out we could all be pretty successful and have plenty of fuck around time and money if our parents owned a winery. Now, my mom bought a winery. It just wasn't one we made any money off of. And when I say she bought a winery, I mean, she just spent so much money on boxed wine that she basically bought a winery. She paid the company's mortgage 4 or 5 times over, is the point I'm making. Okay, we got time for one more. We're going to skip the Golden Dome. Yeah, Trump's going to put satellites in space that shoot nukes out of the air. China wants to. China says it's no fair, and it's like, why would you say that, China? What are you going to nuke us? That's like saying, it's no fair that you lock your door. How dare you? Why? Are you going to break into my house? Sounds like something somebody's going to break into my house is going to do. We're going to get on to Picklegate. We're going to go to Picklegate. So we're talking about the manosphere with Andrew Tate and all these guys. Andrew Wilson, he's another manosphere influencer, debater, whatever. He has caught some ire because he publicly went on the whatever podcast and tried to debate a woman. And somebody offered them money in a super chat to see who could open a pickle jar. Go ahead, play it.
Uh-oh. Come on, you can do it.
Put it right side up. Just
You can
so it
do
doesn't
it. You
spill
got
on you.
this.
All right, bro. I can't do it. Here. I do. This seems a little immature. No. For
Hey, the guy
$1,000.
sent $1,000.
Yeah, but it seems slightly immature.
It's all
$1,000 open a pickle jar.
See, it is.
I got to grip it.
Uh-oh, Andrew. If you can't open it either.
Well, your hand greased the whole top of it.
My hand are fine. Here, high five.
It
My
literally,
shoes are slow.
it's like, feel it. Isn't that greasy?
It was like that already. Oh my God.
No, it wasn't. You greased the top.
Use
Oh
your
my
shirt.
Jesus,
Use your
Andrew.
shirt,
If you can't open the olive jar, you cannot
Here,
blame my
while we're doing
hand.
olive jar.
What's an
If
olive
you're
jar?
so strong, you should open it.
Yeah, I got to be able to grip it.
Okay, we'll grip it. Let's
It's
go.
literally slippery.
Uh-oh.
Grab me a paper towel so I can dry the top of it off.
Oh.
How many times did he use the word slippery there? He was flustered.
Or greasy or oily.
Oily, yeah, he was flustered. Now, I actually like his videos. I think it's funny, though. And he's been a fairly good sport about it. But it's launched the internet into a debate. How many men do fail at opening pickle and olive jars? So I saw this in the fridge, and I decided that we would try it live. I'm going to put my masculinity to the test live on air. Mia, validate that this pickle jar, or this olive jar here, we got it right here, is closed. It's sealed shut. It's not been opened. Can you validate it? Try and open it. You get it all slippery for me.
This is the stupid one that I tried to open last week.
Oh, so
and I
this one
couldn't
would not
get it.
open. Okay, I haven't seen this one. All right, let me see it. Give me the olive jar here. You're getting it all slippery and greasy. What are you doing? All right, here we go. Look at that. What are you talking about? 3 seconds I got it off. Oh. All right, I'm sorry, Andrew. I was hoping that I would struggle and it would be like I could be able to come out here and defend you and be like, look, I benched more than any of you that are making fun of him. And I got off in half a second. Did you open it before you gave it to me?
No, I tried to open it last week to put in the pasta salad.
So this has been a weekend in the works of you trying to open this olive jar, and I just got it in half a second. She did loosen it for me, guys. She loosened it. And there was no pop. She had it up to the microphone the whole time. I want to make this clear, and I wasn't going to say this until afterwards because it would have been very humiliating if I couldn't get this open. I am undefeated against pickle jars and olive jars, for that matter. I am undefeated. Never lost, to quote LeVar Ball. Now, there have been times I have been flustered, but as a man, let me tell you, you get handed that fucking olive jar, that pickle jar, you have no choice but to open it. The moment you lose is the moment you lose her respect. You must, under any, I don't care if you got to use your shirt, paper towels, cloth towels, whatever the case may be. I don't care if you got to run it under hot water. You must get that jar open or you become expendable to your wife. Am I right or am I right? She would throw me out on the street like a dog if I would have failed to open this.
Wrong.
Anyway, that's been our show. Go practice opening a pickle or olive jar. Hopefully Israel doesn't strike Iran's nuclear bases because that'll start World War III. But I think we've lost control of that country. I think we've lost control of both Palestine and Israel, and we should just let them fight it out like two porch pirates going after an Amazon package. That's been our show. We will see you guys on Monday for Unsolicited Advice. I'm your host, as always, Caleb Salvatore. Cheat on your taxes, not your spouse. Follow me, Instagram and Twitter. Caleb isn't funny. I'm back on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. and stay based.